You wouldn't survive, not for a week. And I don't mean you'd fail some dramatic test. I mean something much smaller. Right now, without a lighter or matches, you couldn't make fire. You couldn't look at a handful of plants and tell me which one feeds you and which one stops your heart. You couldn't find safe water. And a cut on your hand, the kind you'd normally ignore, could quietly kill you in about 9 days. Here's the strange part. The people who did all of that effortlessly, every single day, had the same body you have, the same brain, practically the same DNA. If you took a baby from 40,000 years ago and raised them in your neighborhood, they'd blend in completely. They'd learn to drive. They'd argue about movies. So what happened to you? Because the easy answer, the flattering one, is that we simply got smarter. That they were primitive and we evolved past them. That's wrong. Almost completely wrong. Human brain size hasn't meaningfully changed in 40,000 years. Raw reasoning power, memory, problem solving, all the same hardware. And physically, they weren't fragile either. Skeletal studies show ancient humans had noticeably denser bones than we do. In fact, the bone loss we've experienced compared to our ancestors is comparable to what happens to astronauts after months in zero gravity. Sit with that for a second. We produced the same effect on our skeletons that space did, just by sitting down. So if they weren't dumber, and we're not stronger, what actually changed? This is where it gets interesting. Survival was never instinct. That's the myth almost everyone believes. You imagine that if you were dropped in a forest, something ancient would wake up inside you and you'd just know. You wouldn't. There is no hidden file in your brain labeled how to tan a hide. Every one of those skills was taught, person to person, parent to child, for thousands of generations in an unbroken chain. And then, gradually, we stopped needing to carry that knowledge ourselves. We handed it off to tools, to machines, to strangers. Scientists call it offloading. And it's the reason your ancestors' abilities didn't die out so much as move out. Out of individual heads into the system around you. An average teenager in a foraging society was what anthropologists call an encyclopedic generalist. They could build shelter, track animals, treat wounds, read weather, preserve food, all of it. You are the opposite. You're extraordinarily deep in one narrow skill and completely dependent on millions of strangers for everything else. And if that sounds like an insult, hold on, because it goes further than you think. Think of something simple, a pencil. Try to explain step by step how one gets made. You'd need graphite mined and refined, wood harvested, milled, dried, rubber for the eraser, produced and treated, metal for the band, paint, glue, machinery to assemble it. Built by other machinery, there is not a single human being alive who could make a pencil from scratch. Alone. Not one. Not the smartest person on earth. That's a pencil. Now imagine feeding yourself. Psychologists have a name for the gap between what you think you understand and what you actually do. They call it the illusion of explanatory depth. Ask someone how a toilet works or a zipper, and they're confident right up until the moment they start explaining out loud and hear themselves fall apart. So what happens if that system pauses? Not collapses, just pauses. You felt a small version of it. The power goes out for a few hours, and there's this quiet, uncomfortable hum in the back of your mind. Or your phone dies in an unfamiliar city, and you realize you have no idea where you are, because your sense of direction has been outsourced too. Your brain's alarm system, that ancient threat detector, never switched off. It's still scanning, still firing. It's just aimed at unread emails and awkward conversations instead of predators. But here's the part I find genuinely hopeful. None of this is written into your genes. The toughness isn't gone. It's dormant. Children raised today with real physical demands develop the calloused feet, the endurance, the strength, without any genetic difference from you. Living hunter-gatherer communities right now have some of the lowest rates of heart disease ever recorded, with no modern medicine at all. The capability is still in there. It's just untrained, unrequested, waiting, which leaves one uncomfortable question, and it's the one I can't answer for you. If you never face a single day that demands it, you will go your entire life without ever finding out what you're actually capable of. So tell me honestly, in the comments. What's one survival skill you genuinely have? And if you're still thinking about it, subscribe, because most of what you assume about yourself is worth questioning.